Winget, the author of some gothic horror mashups, and I'm here today to give you some Halloween recommendations, which I'm very excited for because it's my favorite holiday. I love October, I love fall time, and everything to do with that. So I'm not going to have any repeats from last year, so if you want to see my recommendation video from last year, I'll go ahead and link it at the end of this video. So let's go ahead and get started. I decided I wanted to do the least scary to like the most creepy on this list. So we're going to be starting off with some books that are more meant for romance readers or like cozy readers as opposed to horror lovers. So bear with me if you're here for the horror recs. I, at this time, do not know how to do timestamps. I need to learn that soon. So you can go ahead and fast forward if you don't want to see these recommendations. The first one is actually part of a series, and it's by Lucy Score, and it's called The Dead Guy Next Door. And these, I believe, are romance heavy, but they're also like murder mysteries. So this is about a woman who is seemingly clairvoyant, and she's trying to get a handle on her new skill, and she discovers a dead body. But lucky for her, she lives next door to a police investigator. So she goes over to him for help, and of course he's hot and hunky and all of that. So she enlists his help in helping her solve the murder of this body that she found in her house. And then the series continues with The Corpse in the Closet. And then we have The Blast from the Past. And then the last is The Body in the Backyard. So this is an ongoing series, I'm assuming. So this is the newest one that just came out, but I believe there will be more coming out with this series. So if you like it, might be a good one. The first one's super chunky though, so just be aware of that. And then this one is not romance, but it's very cozy, and that's Nightmare of a Trip by Maureen Kilmer. And this is the author that did Suburban Hell, which was like a female friendship book. And this is like a family book. So this mom and dad, they want to take their kids on a road trip, vacation, have some memories, kind of like a Clark Griswold type situation where they just want to create all these fun family memories together. So they go on this road trip, but along the way they end up staying at this abandoned, like half burned down farmhouse because I guess they can't get a hotel. I don't know why, I haven't read it yet, but I'm assuming either there's no vacancies or they're just far away from everything else. So they end up staying at this old abandoned farmhouse, and they take something with them, possibly demonic or paranormal. And so the rest of the trip, they're trying to deal with this entity that they accidentally brought with them, and they're trying to get rid of it. So hopefully, you know, the family that gets rid of demons together stay together. But it sounds like it should be a lot of fun. Okay, so the rest are romances. And last year, during my recommendation, I recommended My Roommate the Vampire. So there's a second one out. And so that's why I'm showing you this. So the second one is called My Vampire Plus One. And I didn't want to read the back because I haven't read the first one yet, and I didn't want to spoil things just in case. So I just wanted to let you know that there is a second one if you read and enjoyed the first one. And then we have An Enchanting Case of Spirits by Melissa Holtz. And this is about a woman who's turning 40, and so she's feeling kind of down about that. And so her friends take her away for like a night out with the girls, and they take her to a tarot reading. And she's happy to go along because she's divorced and she's quite depressed. But after she does this tarot reading, which is just supposed to be for fun, she wakes up and discovers a ghost in her house. So she runs next door because it's kind of like that other book, The Dead Guy, because her next door neighbor just happens to be a police investigator. So she runs next door to tell him, you know, there's someone in my house. And so he comes to investigate, can't find anybody, and that's when she starts to suspect that what she really saw was a ghost. And so ever since then, she starts seeing ghosts everywhere. And of course, a romance happens with her and the neighbor. Then we have Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. And this is about a woman who is a medium, but she's a fraud and a fake. And, you know, she makes her money this way. And so she goes to help out this guy who claims that his newly bought house is haunted. But when she gets there, she actually sees a real ghost. And she's never been able to do that before. But now that he's hired her, even though she's fake, she feels obligated to try to help him get rid of this spirit that's in his house. And then we have Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca, and this is about a woman who moves to a new place and come to find out that her house is haunted. And so she enlists for some reason she enlists this guy, but he's apparently the owner of a coffee shop, so I don't know why she thinks he can help her with her haunted house situation. But either way, she enlists his help and they try to unhaunt her haunted house. Sounds a lot like Happy Medium. Okay, so that's it for the romance and cozy books I'm going to talk about, so let's go ahead and get into the horror. I do have 3 thrillers as well to talk about. So all of these books take place in October and or around Halloween time. So I'm going to start with 2 middle grade books. And the first one's Killer Harvest by Christopher Crovatin. And this one is about a corn maze, and it looks like there might be like a scarecrow in it or something. And it talks about a fall festival and stuff, so I think this is going to have all of those lovely autumnal vibes that we're all looking for this time of year. They have this annual festival and corn maze in this cute little town called Gentle Valley. And our 3 main characters don't actually live there, and I always found that town to be rather silly because it was very cutesy and small town and goody two-shoes, I guess. But they get into trouble. Their parents ship them off to this cute little town to go to this festival. I'm not really sure why they thought that would straighten their kids out, but I don't know. So they send them to this carnival, or festival I should say, and these 3 kids discover that when you go through the corn maze, they discover that kids are going missing, that they're disappearing and they're not coming back. And then they start to discover ghost children around the town. So I thought that sounded really cute and fun. I just barely bought this at my daughter's book fair when we went and did parent-teacher conferences, and I just thought it looked and sounded really fun and cute for this time of year. And then we have Death in Douglas by J.W. Oker. And this is about a little boy who lives in a funeral home. It kind of reminds me of My Girl, if you've seen that show, which I absolutely adore. So I haven't yet read this one, but I'm very excited to do so. And this is about this boy who's very familiar with death, living at a funeral home. He helps out with the family business. And one day, right around Halloween time, there ends up being a serial killer on the loose. And so these victims of the serial killer come to his funeral home, and their corpses come with a message. And so he's trying to figure out who is killing these people. Okay, so now we're going to move on to my young adult books, starting with October Moon by Michael Scott. So this is obviously a werewolf story, and it's called October Moon. So I think it takes place in October, so this would be the perfect book for this time of year. And then I am a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, and people can't decide whether it's Halloween or if it's Christmas, but I always think of it as a Halloween show personally. So I recently purchased Sally's Lament, which just came out, and this is the story about if Sally was the one that would have found Christmas Town, then how would the story have gone? So very excited for this one. Great cover. And then we have Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch by Cody Crowley. And this is about a girl who, I believe on Halloween night, gets murdered, and her corpse is just left on a mountain in this cold mountain stream. But apparently there's some type of lore that if you are killed on this mountain, that you're able to come back to life. So she comes back, and now she's out to seek her revenge. And so apparently there's 3 different suspects that she believes could have murdered her. One is her cruel, unfeeling mother. The second is her ex-boyfriend. And then the third is her creepy boss who's always leering at her. So she's made it her mission to figure out who killed her and then seek revenge. So sounds like it should be a fun time. And then we have Our Wicked Histories by Amy Goldsmith. And this is about a girl who was going to this prestigious British art school. She ended up losing her scholarship because she was suspended. And so she gets invited by these rich twins to spend Halloween weekend at their country estate. And she jumps at the chance because these twins, because they're rich and wealthy and they have sway at this school, she's hoping that if she can become friends with them, that they can help her get back into the good graces of the art school and go back to school. So I'm not really sure. It doesn't sound like they're that close of friends. I haven't read this one yet, but if they're not that close of friends, then why did they invite her to a Halloween party at their house? So that's a little bit suspicious. And so when she gets there, she discovers that not all is right with this country estate that she's been staying at. It's dark and drafty, and there's a lake on the property that apparently has some bad history about it. So very excited for this one. It sounds amazing. And then we have Taste Like Candy 1 and 2. I only have a physical copy of the second one, so that's why I'm only holding up the second one. And these are YA slashers about a group of girls that go on the scavenger hunt to this Halloween carnival that they have every year in their town. And so they go to this carnival to do the scavenger hunt that every senior does before they graduate, but it doesn't go down the way that they think, and it turns into a slasher. And then in the second one, it's pretty much the same premise, except it's a copycat killer instead of the original one, with a whole new cast of characters. So I'm actually reading the first one as of right now, and I'm very much into it. It's very well written, and I'm instantly connected to the main character, so it's going well. And because it has the Halloween carnival, I think it's going to have tons and tons of vibes with it, which I'm very excited for. And then this last YA book is more of a thriller. It does take place in October though. So this is called The Night in Question. This is part of a series. The first book is called The Agathas. So read that one first before you read this one. But this is about a girl named Alice, and she had a friend named Brooke who went missing, and then she was trying to figure out what happened to her. And so she finds this tutor that has a library full of Agatha Christie murder mystery novels. And so using those novels and their know-how about Agatha Christie, they're able to solve the murder of her friend. And so now she's back in Castle Cove, which is what the place is called where her friend went missing. This happened last October, so now this October she's trying to solve a new mystery, also involving things that I'm sure are Agatha Christie related. Okay, that's all of my YA novels, so now we're going to get into the adult stuff. I have 3 thrillers to talk about, and the first one is Finley Donovan is Killing It by El Casamano. And this is more cozy, but it was very fun. I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I really want to continue the series. There is, I believe, 4 out right now, and I think there's projected to be 7 in the series. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and it kind of ends at a cliffhanger, so you're definitely going to want to read the second one. But anyways, this is about a woman who is a writer, and she goes to meet with her agent at a restaurant, and they're talking about murder and stuff. And apparently the character in her book is a killer for hire type situation. And so they're talking plot line with her agent, but somebody overhears her talking and thinks that she's talking about real life and thinks that she is a killer for hire. And so she slips her a note in the restaurant asking if she would kill someone for her. So because she's a single mother and she's down on her luck money-wise, and her books aren't going as well as she hoped, she gets entangled in murdering someone for this person. So it's very good, very fun, kind of comedic. I really enjoyed it. But it does take place in October, and it does talk about Halloween decorations a couple of times. So it's not like heavy on the Halloween vibes, but it does mention it, and it does take place in October. And the same goes for the next 2 books. They're set in October, but they're not necessarily full of the autumnal vibes, so just be aware of that. So we have When I'm Dead by Hannah Morrissey. I haven't read this one yet, so I don't even know what it's about, to be honest. It just says, on a bone-chilling October night, medical examiner Rowan Winthrop investigates the death of her daughter's best friend. Hours later, the tragedy hits even closer to home when she makes a devastating discovery. Her daughter, Chloe, is gone, but not without a trace. A morbid mosaic of clues force Rowan and her husband to question how deeply they really know their daughter. Sounds like a missing kid book. Takes place in October. Could be a little bit creepier. And then we have The Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Roble. And I'm actually right in the middle of this one. I'm like a third of the way in. Not very far. Page like 75, I think. Yeah, 72. So close. But I'm loving it so far. So this is about a guy named Alfred who just happens to be obsessed with Alfred Hitchcock. And he creates this hotel that's all to do with Hitchcock's movies. So he has like an aviary full of birds, and he has like a carousel horse from Strangers on a Train, and he has like different memorabilia from the movies, you know, and makes the bathroom look like the Psycho bathroom, different things like that. And so apparently something happened at college that was not very good. And so he invites his friends from college to come to this Hitchcock hotel as like a second grand opening type thing. So it's been open a year, but it's the second year anniversary. So he's like, oh, come see my successful hotel and stay here for a night, you know. And so they all reluctantly come because they haven't seen each other in like 20 years. And it sounds like he wants to murder one of them in order to create buzz for his hotel, because it's actually not doing as well as he had hoped. And he knows that a murder would draw media attention and would generate buzz and put him on the map, and people would start coming to his hotel. But as you're reading, you don't know which character he's planning on killing or how he's going to do it. It just sounds like almost he doesn't even know, really. He's kind of like meeting them again, gauging if they feel sorry about whatever happened in the past, and trying to decide which one he wants to. So it's very fun, it's very intriguing, and I will tell you all about it in my wrap up for October. Okay, so now we're going to get into the adult horror books, starting with one that I personally absolutely loved, and that is Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. And I actually adore this book. I know some people think it's a little bit controversial because they say it's a little bit misogynist and stuff. There might also be some fat phobia in here. I don't remember any fat phobia, but that doesn't mean that it's not in here. But I personally didn't find it chauvinist at all, so I was fine with it. But this is about a group of authors that travel to this house on Halloween night that's supposedly haunted. And these are all horror authors. And I love that dynamic because not only do I love books about authors, but we had 4 different horror authors. So you had the female who was she writes like erotic horror extreme novels or something. And then you have the guy that writes like R.L. Stine type books, you know, that's meant to just be fun and campy and more for kids. And then you have like the older gentleman that's the veteran of horror. So he's like the Stephen King of the genre. And then you have our main character who's more like what you would find in new releases nowadays. You know, he's more mainstream. But anyways, I just thought that dynamic was really fun, and I just really love this one. I love haunted house stories, so if you're into haunted house books, I think you'd really like this one. And then we have Strangewood by Christopher Golden, and I mainly got this because of the cover. There's this guy with a pumpkin head, so it looked very Halloween-y, and I read All Hallows by this author last year and absolutely loved it. It had so much Halloween and autumnal vibes, like more so than I've read in any other book before, and it was so much fun to read during this spooky season. So I'm hoping to get that from this one. When you read the back, it doesn't necessarily sound like Halloween, but you know, it's got this pumpkin man on the cover, so it's got to have something to do with Halloween, right? So it says, Strangewood is the name of the fantasy world that made T.J. Randall a best-selling children's writer. But sometimes his imagination goes too far. Sometimes the story is too dark. Sometimes the creatures are too real. And now they've taken away Randall's son. So it sounds like he writes stories that might come true, and they've now taken his son. Looks like it's going to have all those spooky vibes that I'm looking for. And then we have The Thicket by Noelle Ilhe, and this one is about a haunted forest. So it's like a haunt that you would go to during Halloween, but she's terrified of going to these fake haunted house places. They scare her, but her brother really, really wanted to go. So she reluctantly takes him, but she's like, okay, you go into the haunted forest and I'm gonna stay out here and wait for you. So he's okay with that, so he goes, but she's going to be haunted by that decision because he actually gets murdered while he's in this haunted forest. And everybody that bought tickets, they heard the screams, they saw a guy splattered in blood run off, but they thought it was part of the haunt, you know, they thought it was fake. And they didn't realize until the next day that a real murder had taken place. So now she's trying to figure out what happened to her brother. And then we have Whisper Down the Lane by Clay Malloy Chapman. And this one has very good vibes for this time of year because there is like a corn maze and a Halloween festival that they go to at one point in the book. And it's all to do with students at a school, and it's got the changing leaves and the bobbing for apples and all of that stuff. So it's a very good one for this time of year. And I really enjoyed it. The ending wasn't quite my favorite. It got a little bit like stream of conscious crazy, which isn't necessarily my favorite. But up until that, I really enjoyed this one a lot. So this is about a man who is a teacher during the Satanic Panic. And so his son kind of gets involved in this. And they discover this dead rabbit on the elementary school grounds one day. And everybody's in a panic because they think it has to do with these children that are trying to, do demonic things for Satan or whatever. But as we know nowadays, it's not true. But anyways, yeah, I thought it was fun. It was an enjoyable one. It's a great one with great vibes for the spooky season. So this is another one where it doesn't technically take place in October, I don't think. Like, it never comes out and tells you that it takes place in October or around Halloween time. Like, there's no talk about Halloween. But it does talk about changing leaves and, like, colder temperatures and different things like that makes you lead to believe that it does take place during the fall. So, I'm talking about My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon. And this one is not my favorite of this author's. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't, like, spectacular. Maybe, like, a 3-star for me. But anyways, this is about a woman who has a turbulent relationship with her mother, but her mother is ailing and is probably going to die soon. And so she begs her to come live with her so she doesn't have to go to a nursing home. And she reluctantly agrees because she does think that she's able to take care of her mother than she probably should. And she does kind of want to make amends with her mom and kind of figure out why her mom is the way she is. So there is a bit of a twist to this that I won't tell you what it is actually about. But I don't know. When the reveal came, I almost thought it wasn't the real reveal. I thought, like, surely that's not really what it is. There's something else. And I was waiting for that second reveal, for that second twist. And it was like, nope, that really was the twist. And I just don't know how I felt about it. Like, it's okay. But it's, I don't know, not my favorite. And I just didn't love the ending. And then we have The House of Last Resort by Christopher Golden. And again, this one takes place in October, but not around Halloween. And there really isn't a whole lot of autumnal vibes to it. But it takes place in October technically, so I included it. This one is a haunted house story with a bit of a twist. And it's a little bit slow burn, and some people in my book club, because this was a book club pick, they didn't like the characters. I personally was okay with them. Like, they didn't bother me, and I actually really enjoyed this one. So if you like haunted house stories, then maybe give it a go. This is about a couple who moves to Italy because there's some kind of incentive by the government that you can buy these old abandoned houses for €1. And then with the agreement that you will be renovating these houses and breathing new life into them and hopefully new life into the economy of this little town. So yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. And then I have The Madness by Don Kurtagich, and this is a new favorite. I just got through reading this one and I thought it was fantastic. If you like vampire stories, you need to read this. It's really good. It's pretty much a modern retelling of Dracula. So you have Lucy and Mina Murray and Jonathan Harker and Jack Seward, all those people, but it's written more like a serial killer book, like a modern serial killer book, rather than a vampire book. But it's just phenomenal. It's really fantastic. I really recommend it. I will say, though, there is a little bit of sexual stuff in it. It's not super explicit, but it is there. So just be aware of that. So that's all the books I have for you. I hope you found something that you haven't heard of or something that you wanted to add to your TBR. So if you happen to like this video, please hit the like button to let me know. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and we can talk about books and become friends. And I post every Friday. I hope to see you in the next one. See ya.